Hey everyone, I'm your host Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we're going to combine two things that are very important: mental health and video games, and how it's impacting the lives of our youth, our children, our future. They are our future. And I have with me today an expert, Dr. Agam. This professional is treating young men and gamers with anxiety, depression, ADHD, and video game addictions through a holistic transformation plan that he developed, and he's working closely with our youth, and he's helping change their future for the absolute better. So you won't want to miss 1 second of what this man looks incredible. He looks good. He's a good looking doctor right here. You won't want to miss 1 second of what he has to share. Here we go. Style Podcast Show. Hey everybody, it's your host Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we are live, and we are going to talk about mental health and video games and how the two is affecting our young men and affecting their future and affecting them in a negative way. But I have the expert here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. This man is here to change our future, and he's helping our young men uncover these dark desires, video game addiction, anxiety, depression, and all the things that we face as young men going through life, and how we can help them get to a better place. So without further ado, help me welcome to the stage Dr. Dewan. Doctor, welcome to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, sir. It is a pleasure to have you here today. You are phenomenal. Thank you for being here, sir. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for that warm introduction. I really appreciate it.
Doctor, that introduction is all you, and I didn't pay any due justice, man. You are doing incredible work. I thank you for what you do. I thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us today to help us figure out and navigate this paradigm. But first, I want to ask a question. What got you started or invested in the interests of our young men and how video games affects our world? Because I'm a gamer, right? I play video games occasionally, but I never succumb to some of the things that our young men are facing today. So tell us, doctor, what are people facing today, and what got you into it in the first place?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Marcus. So for me, when I was in high school, I had this routine every single day after school. So I would come home, grab a plate of Oreo cookies, put this like a plate, like not just one or two, take this plate downstairs to the basement where it was dark, make sure that all the lights were shut off and all the blinds were closed, and then just game.
Mm.
And game all the way up till like 9, 10, 11. I would take a break for dinner when my dad was in when he would come home, but other than that, like that was my routine. Maybe a little bit of time for homework. And so I kept doing this for a number of years until one day when I was in high school, there was this girl I wanted to ask out to prom in my senior year. But I was too scared to ask her. And so just kept waiting. And then some other guy asked her out. And so I remember going out to prom by myself in this oversized suit that I had learned how to put on for the first time, right? I'm sitting there in the chair watching this girl that I wanted to ask out go dance with her date. And I remember just like in that moment thinking, F, like that could have been me up there, right? Imagine any
Yeah.
17,
Yeah.
18-year-old guy, we're full of testosterone, like all we can think about is like cars and women and gaming, like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just hit me that like, holy crap, like if I don't change right now or in the future, then like it's always going to be like this. Like it's not going to get better. And then so kind of going into college, I decided, okay, I want to be more social, want to kind of learn how to date and socialize and like interact with people, right? Make connections, being able to connect with both guys and girls, all of this stuff. And then along that journey, kind of pushed gaming a little bit more to the side, had it be a secondary thing. And then as I went on in my career, I thought about what really was satisfying to me. And it was helping out guys who I felt like were like my younger self, who'd gone through similar struggles. Because like that's what made me the most fulfilled, was helping people who I felt like were like me.
Love it, doctor. And so, what kind of games? That thank you for sharing that part of your world, right? But that part of yourself. What kind of games, doctor, were you playing at that time? What kind of games were you playing when you was getting in your dark room with your Oreo sandwich, and you know what? And you were playing for hours on end. What kind of games? And number one, but number two is what kind of games are better for you, and what kind of games are worse for you in your experience?
Yeah, so what I was playing at the time was primarily multiplayer games. So there was this one game called Monster Hunter. I had a Nintendo Wii. It was called Monster Hunter Try. And the whole idea behind Monster Hunter is that you slay this monster, right? And it gives you X loot. And so this loot it gives you, you start to make better armor and better weapons with, but you never have enough loot to build the next set from one kill. So you have to keep fighting that same monster again. You can do it with yourself or with teammates. And so you fight the monster again, you get better loot, right? And then that lets you fight the next level monster, the next level monster, the next level, right? So like that was a huge game I was playing, um, because it was multiplayer, and what that game had was, well, it's like a gameplay loop, right?
Right.
Like you kill the monster, level up, kill the monster, level up, kill the monster, level up, right? So it's this continuous feedback loop that it keeps you going, going, and going. And so I think I racked up 150, 200, three something, it's like 300 hours or something in that game, right? I was playing Call of Duty. That was a big one as well too.
Oh, I
Call of Duty
hate you.
Modern Warfare. Yeah, that was
You were an assassin. You were a sniper, weren't you?
I was a sniper, yeah.
I knew
It's
it.
funny you
I
say
knew
that.
it. You can always spot them.
Yeah, I used the Barrett 50 cal. That was the the weapon of choice.
I was the decoy.
But yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Marcus,
the
get out there.
the
We gotta figure out where the sniper is at. We gotta figure out where Dr. Dewan is. He's just
so
murking
that
us.
was it. You were running around in the with the ARs, right?
Yes, that was
Just like
me.
on the ground.
So
But
Call
yeah,
of
so getting
Duty, Monster Hunter,
Call of Duty,
Gear.
Monster Hunter, Pokemon was a big one too,
Okay.
right? Got into the competitive battling scene of Pokemon, and so there to battle with somebody, you really have to train up a team. And so it's not just like you pick 6 Pokemon and battle, right? You have to like breed the Pokemon, make sure they have the right stats, which takes hours and hours. You have to hatch these eggs and you have to raise up these eggs, right? You have to train their stats in a certain way to um, maximize like whatever stats they are. You have to get all this attack. So it's like a lot of preparation just to battle. So like that game maybe ate up like 500 hours of my time, like the Pokemon games. And so the point is that like a lot of these, I found a lot of these multiplayer games, what they tend to have is like a good part is the connection, which is awesome,
Yeah,
but then they have this loop, this gameplay loop, right? That keeps you hooked, keeps you wanting to play more. It like feeds you just enough dopamine so that way you like you want to keep like getting better and better and better.
sure.
But the issue is that as you're getting better in this game, real life is kind of getting worse and worse and worse because obviously you're neglecting some things in life the more time you spend in game.
Mm,
And so like that's where it becomes really important to balance both of those aspects for like maximum overall enjoyment.
What that is incredible that you said that, and I wanted to pivot in this way. So you talked about the connections. It's multiplayer. I'm connecting with friends. I'm making friends, right? Because in order for us to kill this high value or level monster, I may need to bring in some team members. But also in your studies, in your research, you found that young men, are struggling with making friends. How is that possible? And can you explain the disconnect there? Because if I'm making friends online and I'm, the team captain and I'm saying, hey guys, let's get together. We're going to kill, the dragon on level 20. And then you're like, that's all social interaction, is it not? So can you
Mm.
explain what's going on there in the young mind of a young man?
Yeah, so there's so much to unpack there, right? One of the things is, imagine a young man who's like in high school or even early college, right? They have a select few amount of people to choose from, especially in high school. Well, let's say half those people are part of the football team. They're doing instruments. They are drama nerds or like whatever their niche so they're nothing at all, right?
Right.
There's no guarantee that that kid is going to get along with one of those 50 people in those high school.
True. True.
Yet that's what he's expected to do.
Right.
But if he goes online, he can find people who are literally into the same exact sub niche as him, like exact same thing. And like that's how relationships are built, are through commonalities. So now like you're connecting more with these people online, right, over a shared bonding experience, which is awesome, as anyone who's ever played multiplayer with someone consistently knows. Like it's so fun to do that.
Hmm. But it
But then
circumvents the vetting process of friendships.
that, and it also makes it harder to learn the skill set to make friends in real life when you don't have that shared thing connecting you all,
Mm,
right? As you go off into college, you go off into the workforce, you try to have a social life in real life outside of uh, online. You have to know how to connect with people and build relationships, and it comes from like learning those early skill sets, right? And so if all your interactions have been online, then you haven't learned that skill set of bonding with real life people who may or may not share the same interest as you. And the only way you can build that skill set is by practicing it, right? And so while some of the skills may transfer over, like not all of them fully don't.
right. Nuggets. Dropping nuggets. This is huge. This is major. This is what our men need in society. This is what our men are missing in society. Doctor, you pointed out a valid point, and I want to pivot again to now relationships and dating because your story was a part of this and where you realized you needed to make the shift. I'm gonna point out that my younger brother suffers from the same problems, right? My younger brother is a gamer. He's an avid gamer. He's on there. He's killing zombies. He's hacking down monsters. And then recently he shared with me, he's like, man, Marcus, I cannot connect with a girl. And so I said to him, you got to get off the game, right? Just like you said, life is passing you by. You want to connect with a young girl, you want to connect with a lady, you want to court her, you want to date her, but you're unable to navigate the relationship dynamic. So if my younger brother was watching this, who's an avid gamer and he's having problems disconnecting, how can our men start connecting better with the opposite sex and finding a partner?
Yeah, really good question, right? So the first thing I would tell your brother is that, one, it's only getting harder. Like it's not your fault because no one's ever told you this before. But dating used to be hard 50 years ago, and it's only getting harder and harder.
Facts.
The reason, actually, it's just two words: social media.
Mm,
right? So what's happened is that imagine back in the day, right? You're trying to date somebody. A guy and a girl might only meet like 10 people a year who are eligible bachelors, right? Maybe at the church or the social club or the bar or the grocery store, like just like locally in their town, right? Or maybe they took a trip somewhere once you graduate college.
Facts.
Now, a girl can meet thousands of people in a weekend, a month, right? Just do
Right.
online connection, likes, follows, comments, especially through Instagram.
Right.
And so, if she's attractive, then she gets all of this attention that's being flooded to her, right?
Right.
So now, what's she going to do? She's going to pick like the best option that she has out of all of those options, as opposed to like the 5 or 10 that she had before.
Right.
And so, to your younger bro, like, don't get it twisted. Like, she has all the power here in choosing. You have no power because no one
Mm,
is flooding your DMs trying to
mm.
slide in. Like, I assure you, my man.
Facts.
So, what are you going to do about it, right? Either you say, okay, this shit sucks, I'm going to give up, right? I'm going to go my own way. That's one option. Or you say, okay, this is the reality and I'm going to level up so I become one of those guys that like she answers, that she responds to, that like she wants to be with, rather than being someone who's down here and complaining about not getting any options. Because like you're not going to change reality, right?
Right.
All you
Right.
can do, it's like trying to find gravity.
Right.
Right, you're not going to be able to do that. So why not learn how to use gravity to your benefit?
And work with it instead of against it.
So then the advice I would give to your brother is like, bro, like, if you want this, which I know you do deep down, then like you got to level up, dog. And so that includes like, getting your fitness right, getting your mental health right, getting your communication skills right, getting your career right, getting your mindset right. All of these are different skill trees that we have in our lives. And to level up a skill tree, just like in a game, you need XP. And then once
Experience.
you get that XP, yes, experience, you get that experience, you rise up in that skill tree. And then that skill tree, that leveling up lets you fight higher and higher level bosses than you could when you were a novice level one.
Oh, I love
So
that.
that's what you got to do in real life.
I love that. So baby bro, you gotta level up. You gotta get more experience. You gotta make more mistakes. You gotta get out there. You gotta put the game down and get more experience. And that girl, you mess around with level 1 girls, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, she a level 1. But in order to get to level 2 and level 3 and the 5-star girls and the 10-star girls, you gotta level up. You gotta work on your skill sets to diversify and expand and grow so you can take on and take down. No, I'm just kidding. Don't take anybody down, but take down those higher level, high quality girls. So love that. Love that. Huge, 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 huge. That makes absolute sense. We gotta level up. We gotta level up as men. We gotta do better. And so, do you recommend complete? Because I want to be sensitive to it, right? Because video games are kind of like a stress relief for men, right? A long day at work, having a hard day. I just want to, retreat to my man cave. Do I have to completely eliminate video games, or is there, a happy medium? Or do you recommend in your profession, as you see clients, does it just vary on person to person? Like, hey man, you need to get off completely. Is it that bad of an addiction to where it's like you gotta go cold turkey? You cannot play video games like alcohol, like alcohol or smoking. You got to go cold turkey, or is there a gamer patch that you can put on to kind of wean off? What have you seen, doctor? What's the various options that someone has?
That's a good question, Marcus. So, what I tell people is that there's a difference between having a glass of wine with your partner on a Friday night versus waking up on a Tuesday afternoon and taking a shot because you are too hungover from the previous day.
Mm, facts.
Same thing
Facts.
with gaming.
Yeah.
Like, you can enjoy the shit out of a game after a work day or on a weekend, but it doesn't mean it has to take over your life or go like neglect all of your other goals, right? Something my buddy and I do a lot is we played a lot of Smash Bros in college and went to tournaments and like went to each other's houses and stuff, played that. We had our whole fraternity like come in and like play Smash Bros together at our house. And it was like some of the funnest shit I've ever done in my life. And like now it's like how we maintain our friendship is like every month we'll hop on like a Friday night and say, hey, let's play Smash, and we'll play until like 3 a.m., from like 8 p.m. to 3 a.m., right? And
Sure.
it's like it's super fun and we both love it. He's a father, he's got 2 children, about third on the way. So we're busy adults, but we can still enjoy gaming without it corrupting the rest of our lives.
That's
You
huge.
just have to pick the time, place, and set boundaries around it, like just like everything else you do in life.
So true. So true. Love that. Love that. What's something that people commonly get wrong about mental health and men? One of the most interesting things I ever saw. Um, I'm a line this up for you. I'm gonna lay the groundwork for you. I saw a skit about a young lady who she was straight sexism. She was like, women are awesome, women are perfect, women are the dominant force, yada yada yada. And then she wrote a book on women, right? And all these things that women do and how powerful they are. And then she took the time to become a man, right? She did a study, and she actually dressed up, changed. She already had some masculine features, and she already kind of changed herself to look like a man. And then she, for I think like a year or two, she portrayed herself and carried herself as a man. And to her realization, she realized that she was wrong about a lot of the views that she had about men, and ultimately, unfortunately, ended up killing herself before releasing the data points about what she discovered as being a man and being in the life of a man, and how hard men actually have it. And so, what are some things that we commonly miss as a society when it comes to men and mental health?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's two things that really come to mind, especially when you share that story. Is that one is that men always have what's called a burden of performance, right? So let's say somebody breaks into the house, or like like there's a fire, or there's any kind of financial problem in the family, right? And whatever it is, as a guy, like you're always expected to perform, right? Like you're always expected to be on and like be able to handle shit. And
Right.
so if you're having your own mental health problems in the side, then you might not be handling shit. And so if you're not handling anything, then you are almost useless as a man to society. Like think about a man in like the caveman days who couldn't hunt or fish.
They would starve.
They would starve. The entire tribe would starve.
Yeah, they would
Like you
kick.
had to.
They'd kick him out or
Like,
replace him. Yeah,
exactly, right. So it's the same kind of thing. So just like understanding that like you always have to be performing as a guy. Like you are judged by your success. So like that's one thing that I think most people don't realize.
that's true.
Um, but the second thing is that there's a narrative that says like, oh, just go to therapy, right?
Right.
Therapy itself is a very feminized approach to mental health care, because the whole idea behind like traditional talk therapy is that you talk about your problems and feelings.
Right.
Well, who gets together and talks about their feelings?
Women. Women do.
It's ladies.
Yep.
And that's why like 85% of all therapists are female, or like some high stat like that.
Right. That's true.
Guys like to solve problems. Like, you ever hear that saying where a girl and a guy are arguing, she says, "You don't," she tells about her problem, he's like, "Oh, this is how you fix the problem." And she's like, "No, you're not listening to me."
Yep. I've seen and heard that. Yes.
It's
Yep.
like that classic couple's dilemma, right? He's like, I'm telling her she's literally complaining about this, like her boss being mean. So I'm saying, hey, stand up for yourself. And whereas she's thinking, hey, I just want him to validate the fact that my boss is mean to me. I don't need to know how to solve this problem.
Right. That is a constant headbutting in relationships. You're right. You're right. We're
And so
constantly falling into that dynamic. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's because like men and women approach problem solving very, very differently. And so as a guy, I found that what really works is like action oriented steps. Like, so for example, with my male clients, oftentimes we set goals and plans, and like, okay, like, so you're feeling down, or you're feeling this level of anxiety. Okay, like, what are we going to do about it? What's our game plan going into this? With a lot of my female clients, I might talk for like 10% of the session. And that's being generous, because,
Right.
like, they'll talk for, like, all of it, and then by the end of it say, "Oh, wow, like, I feel so much better. See you next week."
And you've done almost not hardly anything, just allowing her the space to kind of get it out there.
Because, like, that's how she processes through it, is by getting it out there. Even just verbalizing it helps her process it all, just getting it off her chest. Whereas for a guy, guys tend to internalize things. And so our way of getting stuff out there is through physicality, right? That's why you hear about guys like, they pent up rage and then they had a bar fight or they punched a hole in the wall,
Right.
because those are destructive ways to get out that emotion.
Right.
The constructive way would be, okay, let me go to the gym and channel this aggression. Let me work extra hard on my business or my studies so I can like show that girl who broke up with me
In a positive way
in a
instead of,
positive way.
yeah. What do you think there is a do you, in your professional opinion, is there a correlation between video games and the violence that we're seeing in video games, and kids are just basically reenacting what they're seeing? Or is that a myth? Is that a myth entirely? Or is there some correlation there?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So like the research is very mixed on this, right? Some
It
studies
is.
say there is the yeah, some studies say there is a correlation. Other studies say like, that's hogwash. There's no real correlation. Um, I have a couple theories on this topic. So one, like, I think it's obvious that the vast majority of people can play a violent video game and have no more tendency to become violent, right?
Right.
But people who may already have violent tendencies may in turn turn to violent video games. And then,
Mm,
that might be like an associated factor when if they do end up committing some kind of violence.
mm.
Like if they already had psychopathic tendencies, if they came from a broken home, if they had a criminal record, right? If they had a significant abuse history in the past, right? Anything like that, then they might turn to the violent video game.
Now,
So
is
like
that
that's
is that necessarily a bad thing? Because just like going to the gym, or maybe I could be wrong, going to the gym, that's a more constructive way of taking out your aggression, right? Because you're not physically hurting anyone in the video game, right? The same way you're not hurting anyone in the gym. But is that a bad thing that this person has aggressive tendencies and they're retreating to video games, or no? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, right? It's
Yeah.
like if let's say 100 people have violent tendencies and all of them turn to video games, we don't hear about the 99% who had the tendencies, played the game, and then went to bed.
Right.
You only hear about the 1% who had the tendencies, played the video game, shot some people in Call of Duty, and then 3 weeks later, like, bought a gun at Walmart and then went somewhere,
Right. That
right? Like,
one that one off. Yeah.
you just hear about those, extreme outliers. I do a lot of work in the prison population as well, like, I have a separate, like, moonlighting gang in the prison, and there, I haven't found too many gamers.
Really?
These are prisoners who are in for assault, murder, rape, like that, like pretty serious offenses, right? And then they have social or they have mental health issues on top of that.
Right.
Not too many of them strike me as the gamer type in their past life.
So there's that example, and there's that scenario where there isn't a connection between video games, yet this person has committed one or two offenses that were pretty violent, but he wasn't
Mhm.
an actual gamer beforehand. So that's powerful. That's huge. Huge, huge, huge. Dr. Dewan, y'all, spilling the tea on Gentleman Style Podcast today. We are talking about mental health for men and the correlation and the connection between gaming. And for those of you gamers who out there who are watching this or may come across this, and it's like, oh well, my girlfriend is a gamer, so I'm good. I don't have to worry about that. I met the love of my life on video games, right? Or you have those professionals, right? Because gaming is now a professional sport. It's an actual sport now. So to those guys, they do they have to, does any of this apply to them? Because they found the love of their life playing video games. So they're okay, right? Doc, or no?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, that's like saying I found the love of my life at a bar, so therefore I don't need to lay off
Quit
alcohol
alcohol.
because we found each other at the bar, so it's okay because we both like this,
Match made in heaven.
right? Like at the end of the day, there's much more to life than just securing a mate, especially as a guy. You have to be competent at work, you have to be physically healthy, you have to have a good relationship with friends and family, you have to um take care of people, take care of like your parents or your children. You have to know how to be a good father, know how to be a good husband, right? All of these things. So, like, securing a long term partner is just step one in your ever evolving journey to uh, level up as a guy, right? You'll never reach a level 100. Nobody ever will. But, like, that's kind of the ideal that we can all strive for.
Absolutely. Doctor, I want to, something came to mind as you were saying that parents, especially in this day and age, the kids are getting younger and younger, and they're having access to things that probably you and I or probably our parents didn't have access to, right? I know more 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds with iPhones, right? And that's kind of the parents' kind of quick answer. It's like, oh, this child is getting a little antsy, they're getting a little, a little uppity. Let me give them my iPhone to play with, or let me download this game so they could play with. Is that the right way to deal with our children? Is that okay, or is that a no no in your experience?
Yeah, that's a good question as well, right? And it boils just down to um, anything like before. The dosage of something matters, the frequency of something matters. Let's going back to alcohol, right? You
Right.
take one shot of alcohol, you don't feel anything. You take four shots, oh, you feel pretty good, like you feel pretty social. You take 12 shots, you're in the hospital.
Right.
So dosage and frequency make a huge difference. So let's say you gave little Timmy iPod, like, one day you're bored, one day he's bored or he's a little upset, you give him an iPad, and he plays on it for like a couple hours and then, goes about his day. Okay, like whatever.
Right.
Now, but let's say you reinforce a pattern where every time Timmy gets upset, you give him an iPad so he learns that, okay, me getting upset equals me getting iPad. Therefore, I should always be upset to get the iPad.
Mm.
So you have to be very careful of that behavioral conditioning that you create when you enforce that by giving Timmy an iPad every time he cries, right?
Right.
The best way I've found to really reinforce gaming or to use these things is to use it as rewards for uh, desired behaviors, right? So let's say you want Timmy to do all his chores, but he doesn't listen. He just wants to play on the iPad, right?
Right.
So, you say, okay, well, like Timmy, if you do all these chores, you like take out all the garbage and do your room, then you get to have an hour and a half on the iPad. And then really like, enforce that, stick to it, right? Let's say he starts like doing it fully, or let's say he starts like halfway there, then you like might give him a little bit of time, but then you say you want the hour and a half that you have to do all the chores, right? You kind of positive reinforcing that.
Right.
So that way you're able to reinforce pro-social behaviors with these kids using that as a reward rather than as just like a stimulus that's just given to them for no reason without earning it.
I love
And
that.
that yeah.
I love that. So that's retraining the brain and putting a positive spin on it versus the negative. Oh, you're crying, or you're acting out, or you're getting into trouble. Let me give you the iPad versus let me make it a positive connection in that mental stimuli and saying, do this social thing, right? I want you to go play outside for an hour before you touch the game. Or, you know, um I want you to do this chore, this household task. I want you to do the dishes, do your laundry, clean your room, and make that connection versus the negative connection. So that's huge, huge, huge.
Yeah,
I never.
taking that crying
Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
even taking that crying example you were talking about, right? If Timmy is crying and you give him the iPad, you reinforce, okay, Timmy crying equals iPad. So increasing crying increases iPad. But let's say you don't give it for the crying, but when he stops crying and he's a little bit more like he's calmer or responds to a situation calmly, then you give him the iPad. Then you reinforce, oh, Timmy, you self soothed really well. Like, excellent job in healing yourself, taking care of yourself, Timmy. Here's the iPad. So then you're conditioning a completely different response where, okay, I handled my own distress, and then that gives me a reward,
Yeah,
which is a fundamental skill later on in life when you have work, job, family, all that thing where, okay, you take care of business, then you get the reward.
yeah. Because that's how life actually works. You don't get the treat for misbehave. You don't get a pay raise or get compensated at your job for misbehaving. You get
Hmm.
compensated at your job for doing the right thing and doing what your job thing, doing what they ask you to do. And then the reward
Precisely.
is your paycheck. So that's more aligned with actual life. That's huge. Huge, huge, huge. Doctor, what is something that I didn't ask you but you want people to know about? What's something that isn't talked about enough that you see as a trend in your profession, helping our young men? What's something that you want to put out there that people don't know about?
Yeah, that's a good question. The main thing is going back to what we were saying before, right? That in life, everything that we do in life is a skill. Like everything that we do. So oftentimes we tell ourselves, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a good student. I'm not a good father or husband. I'm too ugly to date, too broke, too short, too." ethnic, right? We tell ourselves these stories, and then these stories reinforce that behavior, which in turn reinforces our thinking. And then that vicious cycle continues, right?
Right.
Now, let's say we told ourselves that, oh, I can do this. You know, it doesn't, my height doesn't matter. My starting weight doesn't matter. I can still lose weight. You start telling yourself positive things, then your behavior becomes a little bit more positive. And then as your behavior becomes more positive in line with those goals, then it reinforces those positive thoughts again. And so you start creating this positive feedback loop instead of the negative one that we had before. So just even recognizing that all of our thoughts are things, the things that we say to ourselves, like those things have power and they enforce our behavior. And the best part is that we get to choose our thoughts, just like we choose the direction we drive our car, whether we turn right or turn right towards work or we turn left towards McDonald's.
Mm.
Same thing, right?
Yes,
We
sir.
choose the thoughts that you have, and which chooses your behavior, which in turn influences the direction you're going. So why not choose the thoughts which give you the best outcome of success for what you want?
Mic drop. Mic drop. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. This is necessary. This is absolutely necessary. Doctor, thank you for giving this insight, this wisdom. How can my audience connect with you? How can we learn more? If I have that kid that I'm just on the fence, do you do online consultations? Do you do, or is it face to face with you? How does that work? How can we connect?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do online consultations and online um, coaching and visits, right? So you can find me at my website, www.agamdewanmd.com. And so there you can kind of go through all the things that it offers, see if it's something that you value with. Have a lot of content on there under the media section, podcasts, like gaming streams. So, there's something that you can watch if you feel like you vibe with what I'm saying, vibe with my philosophy, you or your son, right? Then feel free to book a free consult call and be happy to chat and see what we can do.
Love it. Love it. Connect, y'all. Connect. That is in the show notes. Doctor, thank you again. This has been epic, yo. This is absolutely necessary. I love the work that you're doing. I love that you're helping our young men do and live better lives and get back to reality. So what I'm hearing through this whole episode, gaming isn't bad, y'all. We gotta kind of work on it. We gotta smooth it in there, right? You don't have to get rid of it completely, but it has to be in a controlled way. So super powerful. Doctor, I want to say this to you publicly. Thank you for what you do. Don't ever quit. We need you. Our men need what you're doing. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, Marcus. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you, my audience, for tuning in to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was insightful. I hope this was impactful. And I hope this helps you level up in the future. Like I always end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman, your favorite gentleman, and Mr. Dr. Dewan signing off. Love you guys. Bye.